So I've officially decided that now is the time for me to finally build the thing that I've been wanting to build for such a long time. I want to build an idle game, and specifically an idle RPG. And this is something, just making a game, that I've been wanting to do for such a long time, but I didn't do it because I'm not a game developer. I don't have any experience with your traditional game engine whatsoever. I'm a web and app developer. So all of my experience, this is what I do as my full-time career, all of my experience is in building interactive applications and not games. And so as much as I did want to make a game, I never really wanted to sit down and actually learn the game engine on top of everything that I do full-time as my job. It was just a little bit too much for me. But recently, I actually found a genre of game that you can actually build that doesn't necessarily need a game engine. And that's an idle RPG. And the first time that I kind of realized that this was possible was when I saw this game over here. So this is a game called Alden Idle. And this is a super interesting game because on the surface, it doesn't look that interesting. It's just like a bunch of menus and a bunch of buttons over here, right? And that's kind of the whole point. But when you dive deep into this game, you kind of realize just how powerful it is, how deep it can go, and how satisfying this game can actually be. So this over here, for those that don't know, is essentially an idle RPG, and the simplest way for you to think about it, this is basically RuneScape just without the gameplay. You have here on the sidebar all of your stats just like you would have in RuneScape. So all of your combat stats here, you have all of your non-combat stats here, and to do something here, let's say for woodcutting, which I'm on the woodcutting page right now, all you do is you come here, select the tree, and then you simply start cutting your tree, and that's it. This is the gameplay, right? You're just watching a progress bar tick over and over again, and you're getting your rewards here at the bottom, your woodcutting XP, and your actual logs. And this at first, I was like, who would actually play this? Like, why would you sit here and watch this? Like, this isn't fun at all. But the more that I dug into it, the more that I interacted with it and actually got some XP, the more that I started to see just how cool this can actually be. Because this is a game that is meant for your second monitor. It's not meant to be a game that you actually play actively, right? Because again, it's just a progress bar. Yet it gives you all of the same satisfaction that you would have in a game by seeing the number go up. And that's essentially the whole point. You can let this game run for hours on end. You don't have to sit here and actually watch it. You can do something else. You can play another game. And every single time that you come back here, you're actually going to get dopamine and rewards from all of the things that your game was running and doing without you being there. And that I found super, super cool. And then even cooler that people actually enjoy this, right? So even though this looks like an interface and it's all this complexity, all these numbers, all these charts over here, people really dig this. They dig like the optimization of it, trying to find like the best way to min-max everything. And they kind of play this while playing their other games. And when I saw this, I immediately got inspired because I was like, oh, I can do something like this. This is where all of my experience as an app developer is going to come into play, right? Because this is not built with a game engine to the best of my knowledge. I don't think that it is, right? This is built with a framework that lets you build web applications, which is exactly what I can do. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm taking this as my sign. It's now officially time for me to start building my dream idle RPG. And the reason why you're watching this video right now is because I have something to show you. I've been working on this for the past couple of weeks and I'm beyond excited with how it's turning out, and I'm going to share this with you. So allow me to introduce you to my dream idle RPG called Alden Idle. And this is what this looks like. Now, first impressions, you're going to see this is pretty much the same layout as Alden Idle, and that's correct and that's on purpose because I think Alden Idle did a very good job. Now, I do plan to use them as an inspiration and as kind of the foundation, the starting point for this game, but I do plan to take this into my own direction with my own gameplay loops and all my systems to really differentiate myself with Alden. But essentially, the game functions just like you typically would expect. So here on the side, you have all of your skills, just like Alden Idle, just like in RuneScape as well. You have your combat skills, you have your non-combat skills. And here, for example, we're on the combat page. So here I can train my attack, my strength, my defense, and so on. And the way that you do that is pretty simple. You just come in here, you select your location here. In this case, we just have one. You select the monster that you want to fight. In this case, we just have the rat. And then you simply press fight, and that's it. You're watching watching the same progress bars go up, just like in Melver and just like in any other idle game. And this is really cool because I was able to build this with relative ease using all of my experience as an app developer without a game engine. So I think this is really, really cool because now I can actually focus on what matters to me, which is all the systems, all the way that things interact, right? Like the damage calculations, your equipment, your stats, the drops, and so on, instead of being bogged down by graphics, by shaders, and all of that thing that I'm just not interested at this point in my life to actually start learning and struggle with. Now, the way that I'm planning to build this game is I'm really focusing on two specific things. And I don't know yet if that's two different types of players. Maybe it's not the right way to think about it or even the right strategy. But essentially what I want is, first, I want the simplicity. I want this to be that simple for you to start playing and to start doing something. Like you saw here, the combat, right? This was that simple. You come here to combat, you select your combat style, and then you just press fight, and that's it, right? I want this to not be overwhelming for new players because that's what a lot of players actually run into and never play the game if your game is too complex for them to even get started. But at the same time, a simple game is a boring game, and I want to have all of the customization and all of the depth that you have in Melver, that you can see it here. The UI is like visually cluttered, visually complex, which is something that I want to avoid. I want to make it simpler, but still have that complexity somewhere. I want to have the complexity so that you as a player, if you want, you can min-max the hell out of this game as much as you want. Right, so for example, you fight here a monster. Every monster is going to have their combat stats over here, right? And these combat stats, they're simple, but they allow depth. So you have offensive stats, you have defensive stats. Offensive is melee, ranged, and magic, pretty self-explanatory. And then also elemental, right? So I have this elemental system here that basically monsters have different elements and you have to configure your elements to actually fight and be effective against the monster, but it's still simple and approachable. Same for defensive, right? The same stats over here. Then you have your stats here, which are completely dependent on your stats and also your equipment. Every single equipment here, the bronze sword, for example, has the same combat stats, offensive, defensive, they all get summed up here, and that's all of your stats here. Same with elemental stuff, and you're basically here to configure all of the things to essentially maximize the amount of damage that you do to the monster and minimize the amount of damage that the monster deals to you. You can also put some food over here. Each food is going to have different stats, right, that basically will heal you. This food gets automatically eaten at a certain threshold of your HP, and then you can just run this for as long as you want. You can view your stats here. This has been running for a minute. That's how long I have it started. You can see I defeated 17 rats. This is my XP per hour here in strength and hit points, and these are the drops that I have, right? So simple, but also allows for depth. Now, when it comes to all of these skills over here, I also want to take the same approach. So all of the skills kind of work in the same way. So this left third over here is basically going to be your part. So like the skill progress, the method that they're using, which is going to differ based on the skill, and then the actual tool they're using for that method. In this case, we have the bronze axe, but you can use a different axe. Every single axe is going to have different stats, which is going to impact your rates here on the skills, the speed and the amount of XP and whatever. All have to figure the details out, right? But again, to get started, you just come here, you select your log over here, and that's it. You're just automatically doing the log, and then you can optimize as much as you want later on. And something that is very important to me is, just like RuneScape really did it extremely well with how all of the skills are interdependent to each other, I want to do the same thing here. So for example, if we come here to cooking, cooking has two methods for now. We have a fire and then we have a range. The fire is going to have you select a log that you want to use to burn so you can actually cook the shrimp or cook whatever food you want. This log obviously is going to have to come from your inventory. You're going to have the correct fire making level to be able to burn this log, right? And you can see now that fire making is not directly dependent on cooking. Depending on which log you use, again, it's going to have different impacts on the way that you cook this, your success rate, the time it takes to cook, and so on. And then you also have a range, which is something that might be a little bit better, but might require something else, like fuel, for example, which you might get from another skill as well. So you can see here that the skills are going to very quickly be interdependent, and to be able to really min-max, you're going to have to work through all of your skills. And I think that's what makes for a great game, right? But all of this is basically the foundation. These are the foundational systems. What I plan to do is then, once I have these foundational systems, start building a lot of content and add a lot of specific details that just really up the experience of the whole game. For example, something I really want to do, and this is something that Melver doesn't have, Old School RuneScape doesn't have at all, is all of these equipments over here, I want to make them enchantable so they can have random stats based on the skill level of the enchant they're using and the actual ingredients they use to enchant the weapon. So for example, you have this bronze sword over here. This is basically the base sword, which is going to have these combat stats over here, right? So these will never change because these are the base stats for any bronze sword. But you can have a bronze sword that's enchanted with fire, so it has additional fire damage. This is going to go here in your elemental. You can have a bronze plate body, the same. Maybe it's resistant to fire or something like that. Maybe it has bonus melee damage as well. Who knows, right? Some mage could have enchanted that and given it those stats, right? And this is going to then unlock so much variety in weapons because no two items are going to be the same, which I think is really cool because that gives you an incentive to train your magic, which is going to unlock all of the powerful skills for you to be able to enchant. You're going to also need rare drops from items to actually use on those enchantments that you're going to get from monsters, which you'll have to fight. The monsters, of course, will be very difficult, which means you'll need levels, you'll need food, you'll need equipment, so you'll have to mine it, smith it, and so on. And you have a living, breathing ecosystem with so much depth and so much to optimize that it's basically almost infinite content. At least that's the goal. And with that, what makes a lot of sense, what I really want to add here is in the inventory here, I want to add a global market, kind of like the Grand Exchange on Old School RuneScape, because I want this game here to have an online component. This is basically going to be an online game, kind of like an MMO, that you can also play single player and you don't necessarily have to be online to run all of your activities. That's kind of the goal. But I want there to be this global market that you can sell your things to, or you can buy things from other players if you don't want to spend the time actually crafting or making them yourself, right? So if, for example, you want to do a lot of cooking, but you don't want to spend all of your time making fires or using all of these ranges over here and whatnot, you can simply go to the market, buy all of the wood that you need from somebody else who wanted to do wood cutting instead of something else. And that makes for a living, breathing economy that really is cool, right? So that's kind of the vision here. I still have a lot of things to figure out, like the actual details of the online stuff, the single player stuff, how I'm actually going to make all of that happen. But I think that there's a very good foundation here and solid to start building upon. So yeah, this is Alden Idle. I'm super excited for this. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more, because I do plan to make devlogs about this and just share the journey of building this. And yeah, that's it for this first devlog, and I will see you in the next one.